In today's episode, I've discussed with Jackie Hernandez, founder and CEO of New Majority Ready, and we've discussed the importance of understanding and engaging with Gen Z consumers. Jackie highlights the characteristics and values of Gen Zs, including their tech-savviness, focus on sustainability and social responsibility, and desire for personalized experiences. Gen Z's purchasing power and influence are significant, making it crucial for brands to adapt to their preferences. Technology such as AI and augmented reality plays a key role in marketing to Gen Zs, enabling personalized recommendations and immersive shopping experiences. Overall, brands need to prioritize inclusivity, sustainability, and personalization to effectively connect with Gen Z consumers. We've explored the complexity of marketing to a multi-channel world and the need for a technology to analyze data and make smarter decisions. In addition, we've analyzed the convergence of media and commerce, highlighting the rise of retail media and the various use cases for content and commerce from small to big screens. The conversation touches on the influence of socializing and entertainment in shopping, the shift away from Amazon among Gen Z consumers, and the future of marketing in 2024 and beyond. Jackie emphasizes the importance of influencers, users-generated content, and understanding consumer preferences. Finally, Jackie shares a fun fact at the end of the episode you don't want to miss. Let's get started. Welcome to the Ecom Pulse, your heartbeat to the world of e-commerce. I'm your host, Eitan Koter. Join us as we meet with industry leaders, marketing experts, and the innovative minds behind the tech that is shaping the e-commerce future. So plug in, gear up, and get ready for a pulse-pounding journey into the heart of e-commerce. Jackie, how are you? Welcome to the show.
I'm good. Thank you for having me, Edutainment. It's great to be here.
Wow, I'm really super excited and thank you so much for your time. We have a very, very interesting topic today. Gen Zs, right? Multicultural, all the goodies, right? So I think you are bringing a lot of experience in this field, a lot of data that we're going to share today. It's really, really exciting. So Jackie, let's start probably from your passion for the topic, right? Where did it came from?
So I've always been what I like to call next generation curious.
Wow.
And
Okay, nice.
And I think that when you are looking at what's going on with the next generation, it really gives you a sense for what the trends are going to be. You probably see this a lot with what's happening in the e-com market. By the way, I'm so excited to be here. I'm such an avid listener to your podcast. I feel like, wow, it's my time to be here too.
Thank you. Yeah, so I mean, you've been really took this topic quite serious, right? And obviously, I mean, looking at your background, what inspired you to focus on this specific area? And I know you're all things e-commerce, all things.
So as you know, and I'll just give a little bit of background, I'm founder of New Majority Ready, which I launched in 2019, the year before the U.S. Census came out, the 2020 Census. Mm-hmm. And I knew, because I've seen the data over the years, that we were going to become much more multicultural as a country. And so New Majority Ready focuses on marketing consultant and content development, specifically at town for multicultural, diverse, young consumers. And when I say young, it's millennials, Gen Zs, and the next generation alphas.
Yeah.
And I think, the story of New Majority Ready is really the story of my natural progression of my career-long purpose, which has always been, how do I help businesses understand and grow and create meaningful connections with next generation consumers, whether they're multicultural or they're young. Just every business is always trying to figure out how to keep up with the change. And so before I started my own business, I worked in media for 2 decades, a little over 2 decades. And I worked for some great brands in major leadership opportunity roles like NBC Universal, Telemundo, Teen People, and also CNN. And those are just some of them. And in all of them, I always oversaw revenue and consumer marketing. Mm-hmm. And with revenue, working in media companies, you have the opportunity and the pleasure of working with almost every major brand marketer in the industry. So whether it's retail, apparel, beauty, financial services, I worked with all those different categories. And what I always saw was that the most successful brands and businesses were the ones that did two things. And one was they were hyper consumer focused, and they always had their pulse on what's next. And so after two plus decades of working in corporate America, I said, this is my time to start my own company, knowing that the data is going to say everything that I think it is. And it did. 53% of US households are blended or multicultural. I launched New Majority Ready. And fast forward to today, we've had great clients from Fortune 500 companies to some leading media buying and advertising agencies, some tech and social media startups, and even nonprofits, all who are looking to reach the next generation. And that next generation is completely changing and the way we shop and the way we interact with e-commerce. So it's just a great topic on any level.
Yes, I mean, next generation is like a very hot topic in almost any of my, guest interviews. People are really struggling, right, to understand and to grasp what's going on. And I hope you can help us today, right?
I hope so. I think I can.
Definitely managers or like in the industry for even 15 years or 20 years, right? It's let's call them dinosaurs, maybe. They call themselves dinosaurs, right? And it's difficult to figure out, job description and the way corporates are recruiting today, right? It's less on probably the skill sets, the professional expertise that they have. It's more on other soft, maybe characteristics and traits, right? So let's maybe jump in. I mean, you can probably focus on Gen Zs or anyone that you feel is more comfortable, and let's try to define them and try to understand, right, what's going on in their minds.
I think it's so interesting because Gen Z's kind of just appeared because for years we were talking about millennials and trying to understand millennials. And then with COVID, we were just trying to understand the world, right?
The world, yes.
And then
there was this gap, right?
There was just this, we don't know what's going on, period, right?
Yeah.
And then that goes and suddenly Gen Z starts to become the conversation. So just if it's all right, just to define Gen Zs.
Sure.
It's the demographic between 1997 and 2012. So basically today, that's anyone between the ages of 12 and 27.
Yeah.
And they're reshaping and redefining things based on four characteristics. And the first one is, this is the most tech savvy of any generation. They were born into on-demand world with apps, smartphones, and social media. And with technology at their fingertips, they want great online consumer experiences, shopping, interacting, whatever it might be. And if they don't get it, they'll go elsewhere. So it's not like a negotiable. This is how they live and breathe. And examples of what I mean by great experiences, they want fast load times. They want personalized browsing. They want recommendations. Like if you like this product, you'll like that product.
Yeah.
They're also looking for real ease at checkout. This really, really well. And for convenience and speed. And that's why we're seeing digital wallets take off and Apple Pay. Most of them already have it all. It's like a seamless integration with mobile. So that's one.
Yes, and it seems that sorry to interrupt.
No,
just one important comment. It seems that according to the reports I read, that they are also much open to advertising, which is the personalized one, the correct advertising, correct?
Yes, I was just reading a stat. I think we were talking about it via email, but like a huge amount of them, 75% will buy from a company that personalizes the marketing to them.
Exactly.
And so it's not just not advertising. It's very personalized. You know who I am. You understand me, my past purchases, my browsing experiences. So yes, and they lean in on that.
Great.
Yeah, it's good that they're not as jaded in advertising, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
The second thing, Eitan, is this is a generation that's all about values and purpose. So sustainability, ethical sourcing, equity and inclusion, all of those things are looking for brands to walk the talk. And because of that, I think it really behooves brands to communicate what they're doing with social responsibility. And I think it's great that some companies have ESG reports and impact reports, But I'm also talking about communicating it in a fun Gen Z way on social media, on their website, with fun visuals. And a great company that does that is Lucy and Yak. They're a British clothing company that has all sustainable clothes, and they're leading the way. This is in their words, leading the way in comfort, the comfort movement. And they openly and regularly communicate with Gen Zs, but really fun videos promoting the sustainability, promoting all the things that they're doing, graphics, animations, and, they're on the social platforms. They're inviting consumers to engage with them. So I think that's increasingly more and more important.
It's not enough to put your ESG statement on an aisle, on a wall, on some remote aisle in the corporate offices, right? Yeah,
exactly. So for certain audiences, that's where you should put it. But for the consumer, I don't know that they're going there as much as they're looking to see what you live and breathe as a brand. And then, as we were talking right before we started, this generation is almost majority minority. So there's no more, it's really an inclusive generation. So they want to see diversity in products, sizes, shapes, skin tones, and also in the models and the influencers that brands are bringing in. That's super important to them. They want to see themselves, and they want to see their friends, and they want to see the world that they live in. Mm-hmm. And then the final one is, I think that with Gen Zs, you have to live where they live, and they live on social media. And because of that, social platforms are having a huge impact on shopping experiences, whether it's direct, like social commerce, or indirect through influencers. And you've probably heard the statement, TikTok made me buy it. Well, that's what that is, basically. It's you saw something, it intrigued you, and then you had to go buy it. And we're seeing a lot more e-commerce companies really engage on the social platforms.
Yeah, it's amazing. And they are becoming like a really, really major source of purchasing power, right?
Yeah. They're probably going to drive digital and video and e-commerce in the next few years. Like they will be the drivers of it, because they're the ones, not even early adopters. That's how they were born into this world of shopping.
Yes. I mean, I'm looking at the Insider Intelligence latest report, actually from last week. So Gen Z represent about 20% of the US population already, right? And they have a estimated purchasing power of $360 billion, right? Spending power. So that, these are like crazy numbers, very high. What does it really mean for brands, for companies these days?
Well, they have purchase power, they have decision power, but even more importantly, they have a lot of influence, because the days of brands pushing their marketing message out and selling have changed. And now it's about this generation of $360 billion, and that's going to grow really fast.
Sure.
Because remember, they're 12 to 17. So as they age, their wallets will get much bigger.
That's just today. 2023. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But what you're seeing there is also this generation is more of pull marketing. They have community. They have friends, family, influencers, people they follow, people they share values with, and they will pull the brand into the conversation and make the brand relevant. And so that's a big part of what brands need to think about is this isn't just me marketing to a consumer. This is me trying to get into their community, their club, their world, their mindset, and their wallet share.
And this is exactly what you say at the beginning, right? You need to be close to your customer, listen to them, engage with them, build communities with them, and think about the future, what's going to evolve, right?
Absolutely.
So because they are the powerhouse, the power purchaser of the future, right?
And embrace a lot of new technologies that are coming out. Like we talked about personalization. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but
sure.
It's getting in there with really new, innovative ways that are going to resonate with them. Like the personalization changing what advertising means to them. That's huge.
Yes. And just provide more context, again, from the same Insider Intelligence eMarketer report about the values that Gen Zs, right, are supporting. And so number one, 53% is mental health, right? So obviously it means that they don't want to work so hard. Okay, let's call it that way.
It's work-life balance, and
Exactly.
I think it's also
like next generation work-life balance. Yeah.
Next generation work-life balance, but it's also a little bit of next generation, insecurities about the world right now.
Yes.
And about the economy and their place in it. And so all of it's all of that, but with the work-life balance probably at the center of it, and fighting bullying and anything else that might create negativity.
Sure. And the fact that they know that they will not be able to, ever purchase a house, probably, right? I heard also today that in the 50s, you need to have like a 2-year salaries to buy a house, a decent house. And now these days, it's like, I think 14 or something like that, something ridiculous like that. So, and minimum wage didn't change for 15 years or so. So,
and it's funny, I saw this, I think it was on TikTok or Instagram, but it was this young woman, Gen Z, in New York City, and she was talking about every time she steps her foot out of the apartment and had like a cash register going. It was like, the taxi, the coffee, the sandwich, it was just adding up and adding, and her rent. And, inflation, one of the big topics is everything's getting more expensive, but we're not all making more money. And this is the generation that's walking into that.
Yes. And what's interesting that there's the things that are getting more expensive. These are like the basic, like food. Groceries. Right?
Groceries, yes.
It's non-stop, right? It keeps increasing and increasing without, no one knows, how to stop this.
I will say though, I believe, I'm very optimistic that it will be a very resilient generation. I mean, having come into the world at a time where, COVID and lockdown and everything else that they've had to encounter, war in the world and everything, I think that they are resilient and they're going to figure out what they need to do. And I have a lot of hope for them and for the future of this planet, because they're so sustainable focused and climate change focused. So
exactly.
that's a positive.
Exactly. So you mentioned climate change. That's second on the list with 47%. Environmental, climate change, and sustainability. Right?
Exactly.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. Like they are like our North Stars. They're telling us, hey, something is wrong here. This and this and this, right?
I think they're saying, what have you done? Like, we don't, we're going to inherit this planet. What are you doing? And they're demanding, circular clothing and recycled goods and, really leaning into it.
I don't respect you. I don't want to work for you. I don't want to buy from you, right? So I'm going somewhere else.
Eitan, you just nailed it. That's exactly it.
Yeah. So, and I like this exercise. Let's go back and forth. So third on the list is like, again, the same 47% is racial and gender equity, right? So obviously, and next.
Well, that goes back also to two things. One, that is just very diverse. So they don't understand why we're, not all the same and treated equitably. And the second one is there's a very interesting dynamic about identity. What gender, race, they're more hyphenated. They're more omnicultural. They're not one thing or another. Yeah. And they want to not be put in a box. They want to be fluid in their identity and who they are. So that's where they're like, well, we need to have equity. We need to have fairness, and we need to be able to define that instead of having someone else define it for us.
Great. So I think we nailed a good foundation for understanding about who they are, right? Obviously what marketeers need to do, right? But obviously it's a big, big change. So what do you see right now in the market? How brands are evolving?
So I'm going to have to say the buzzword. I see technology driving a tremendous amount of change for both marketing and retail. As a matter of fact, earlier this year, I went to the National Retail Federation Conference here in New York. And if I had $1 for every panel speaker that said AI, I would be doing I'd be quite well right now. It was fascinating. But buzzwords aside, more and more e-commerce platforms are using AI algorithms to be able to understand customer data and behavior, to be able to really develop real-time personalized product recommendations. And I think this whole algorithm, it's just completely revolutionized consumer segmentation. So now marketers can go beyond demographics. They'll know where you live, who you are, female, male, blah, blah, blah. But now they can look at critical criteria, like what did you just buy? What are you looking at buying? What do you have in a cart that you didn't purchase? What are your personal preferences, taste, and styles? And you're able to take all of that and even like understand where someone might be on their life stage, like, oh, they're buying a lot of Pampers, they might be a parent, etc. So now they can really send ads and recommendations and drive consumer engagement. And so, this brings us to the power of personalization again.
Yes.
Especially with Gen Zs, which we talked about how they're more apt to buy from companies. But it could be the critical difference at time between what happens with a customer when browsing versus buying. This could be like what turns them to the buy. Mm-hmm. And there's proof, there's data and proof that has shown that this is the new secret sauce ingredient because it's driven higher conversions. It's driven increased purchases, not just what you purchase, but more multiple items. And then it's also created higher brand awareness. And it's because you can do personalization on so many levels. First, there's marketing outreach. Let me just send messages that are more targeted to this individual. Then let me send them very specific product recommendations while they're shopping, or maybe while they're on a retail, e-commerce site. And then once you have all of that, there's dynamic pricing, special offers, a discount, or buy it now for this flash mob. So all of that makes the experience very personal. Another area that I've been seeing a lot of improvement on is not so much in marketing, but in customer service with bots.
Yeah.
And it's been especially good for smaller companies. Have you heard of it's an Italian e-commerce site, Ad Hoc Atelier?
No.
And so they are very cool things, high-end, small e-commerce team of 5 people. And last year, they really leaned into bots. And they ended up driving their conversion rates by 157%. Wow. So you can be a small team and all of a sudden be much bigger by using some of this technology.
Yeah.
And so that's some of that. And then there's one more, and this one is one of my favorites, all this wonderful stuff that's going on with augmented reality.
Okay.
Especially in the shopping world, it's bringing the ability for consumers to visualize the products and be able to see them in their face, their bodies, their houses, their homes, their furniture. And it's amazing. It's really how AR is bringing the online shopping world to the physical world. And I'll give you just a couple of examples. Warby Parker has this home try-on. And you could just take your picture and you can try as many of the glasses as you want. It's not like you have to have them even come to your house and you just, okay. Saves a lot of steps. Nike Fit, you scan your foot, it will recommend which sneaker size you should get. So I could go on and on. The AR stuff is really fascinating. And it's just beginning, really. It's getting better, but it also makes it fun. You're shopping, but you feel like you're part of an experience.
Yes, I truly believe in AR because AR is obviously, virtual try-on is much more immersive type of purchase, but it also has a connection to social purchases. I mean, not purchasing on social, but bringing your friends to purchase together, right? And
Absolutely.
you can join an experience which is very, very unique. And what we see, and we talk about communities, we see more and more communities, like so diverse, right? I mean, they are using Instagram mainly for messaging, right? And stories, maybe. They're using TikTok for short form videos. They go to YouTube for the longer forms. I mean, and then you have the Twitch community, and obviously different, and the Snapchats, of course, and then you have Amazon and now Walmart, and many companies are trying to grab attention, which makes the whole thing like very complicated for marketeers. And this is where technology needs to come into place. Getting the data, of course, from all these channels, trying to visualize it or to analyze it in some kind of a holistic way to get more targeted and better, kind of a smarter decision. And again, we are in a cookieless world, and we don't have that first-party data, right? Not
totally.
anymore.
I think that I'm seeing more and more marketers look for partners like you to help them kind of, what is the lay of the land?
Yes.
What should I be looking for? what's next versus what's the shiny object, because there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of shiny objects out there. We know that. And what's going to drive my ROI. And so
Yes.
you're absolutely right. The data is really helpful for them to be able to, look at how they're doing their plans.
By the way, we talked about AI and bots and the example that you've shared, and I have a question.
Okay.
Think about it. When we will see the first $1 billion valuated company operated by one employee?
Wow. Okay. That's a really interesting question. I'd love to know your answer, but do you think it'll be within this decade?
Yeah, I think so.
I do too.
I think so.
The speed of which things are going is incredible. And
I know already.
We're really just beginning.
Yes, I know for a fact. I know few, not one, that are already operated in close to the $100 million level, right? Just as a one-man show, just operating a bunch of bots and AI algorithms.
That's incredible. So if you already know them in the 100 millions, then I would say 5 in the next 3 to 5 years.
Yes. That's I ask a lot of people about that, and it's somewhere between 3 to 5 years. Some would say even 2 years. But hey, this podcast is not operated by a bot. We are real human. We talk to one another. We have good relationship, and that's the most important thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's always a place for both technology and relationships.
Yes, exactly. So we see that also on the retailer side and also brands, they are like becoming media companies, and we see the media companies becoming commerce. Like it used to be called merchandising, but now they say, yes, we are in e-commerce. And of course, you see the brands, they have like studios downstairs. They have video production teams. They have photographers. And and we saw that, Walmart, approved to acquire Vizio, right? And so many.
Just last week.
We see this merge, and you're in the media industry for 2 decades. Me too. We always discussed about that, when it's going to happen, and we see this happening. Like 2024 looks like a major year in this milestone. How do you see this trend evolving?
I think it's great. I think it's super interesting. It's like changing the model in a way that is fascinating. Everyone's getting into everyone's business. So, first of all, when we talk about retail media, for those that don't know, which I'm sure everyone probably does that listens to your podcast, but just again, it's advertising within commerce or on the retail platforms that have big audiences, right? So what you're having is the retailers are going into media company world, right? They're selling ads to brands. And if you're wondering why, well, it's because when the brands are in these environments, they're right there at point of purchase. And think of the vast data that's available to them. And just to put it in perspective, last year in 2023, 62% of all retail media buying dollars were from Amazon and Walmart.
Yes.
And that totaled over $3.1 billion in revenue. So it's not small, and it's just beginning.
Yes.
And I think what makes it highly effective is all that data that they have that we talked about before can help those brands really see lifts. And for the retailers, it's a whole new revenue stream. And then when I say everyone's in everybody's business, the flip side is happening on the media companies. And they are trying to become retailers in e-commerce. I'll give you an example from my alma mater, NBC Universal. They recently announced a partnership that they did with Walmart and some other programming on the Bravo channel.
Yeah.
And it was integrated with Peacock. And it was basically you could shop the moment with products that were in the show that are sold at Walmart. So you have a complete integration of content and commerce. And it was a collaboration between NBC's Must Shop TV and Walmart's web checkout. And so it was seamless, the experience. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so interesting. Everybody's going into everybody else's spaces. So I think what we'll have to watch is what the market dynamics do and how they continue to shift. But in the end, it's all about the customer. And I think the customer wants to be entertained. I think the customer wants to socialize while they're shopping. It's what you were talking about before. It's not just social commerce, it's socializing. It's part of your activities. And they want fun.
Exactly. By the way, going back to Gen Zs, and you mentioned Amazon, obviously retail media is primarily Amazon, right? I mean, there's a long tail of retailers that, I mean, they're not moving. It will take time for them to move from, managing storefronts to become an advertising company. But going back to Gen Zs, 47% of them have claimed that they are planning to shop less on Amazon.
Yes. Right? It is interesting. I mean, they're obviously there, but they're trying to wean themselves off of Amazon. And I think the key word there is trying, because of the convenience, the scale. It's, but they don't want someone to have the whole monopoly. They want it to be able to share.
Yes. Yeah. They don't like monopolies, right? They want the wealth to be shared by many, right?
Yes.
That's the source of this trend.
Part of it, I think. And it's also, I don't want someone to have all that data, and, privacy is very important. Integrity is important. So I think it's a combination of, well, let's see if are there startups that we can help, or companies that are doing things that are innovative in the sustainability arena, or that giving back to, poverty or other areas. And so it's all of those things kind of integrate. But I think the biggest one, just my opinion, is we don't want someone to have all that power.
Yeah, and they're willing to do something about it, maybe.
Or try.
Or try, yes. Sorry, you're correct. I'm correcting myself. They will try again. Yes. This is the third time that you corrected me, so now I'm learning.
I'm not. You said it yourself, but I'm pointing out the word, because sometimes intentions aren't always what translate into the experience, and especially when it comes to shopping with ease and convenience.
Yes. So, Jackie, what do you see in the market, like in general? How do you see 2024 or maybe the next year thereafter evolving?
Well, I see 2024 being an interesting year. At least in the US, we have a lot of, and I know you're a global podcast, but we have a lot of, it's a political year. The economy is still not where it really was before. You have technology coming in, and for some people, they're embracing it and running and starting one-person companies that will become $1 billion in a few years. And other people are still, I did like that a lot. And then there's still other people who are kind of afraid of it and kind of unsure of it. What I do see continuing to grow is the power of influencers, the power of recommended content, recommended purchasing from friends and family, and user-generated content. You always say that the influencers are, your best word of mouth. And I would even take it a step further, Eitan, and say like it's word of mouth on steroids. You've got your comments and your posts, you can read reviews, but you can actually watch someone tell you, hey, look at this skirt, and I'm going to make 5 different outfits out of it. Or here's this wonderful food product, and I'm going to show you how to cook a great recipe with it. So the word of mouth power that user generated and influencers is huge. And
huge.
And I think that's a big thing for folks to really think about in e-commerce and in retail, because it used to be we would go trust the retailer and buy, but we're in a different place. People would prefer to trust recommendations from friends and family and from influencers that they respect and value than from companies that they know are selling you. And so that's really important. And so one of the things I am seeing more and more is what I call the who and the how. It's marketers really understanding who are consumers following, right? And how, and what are they looking for? And I do think more and more consumers are looking for, edutainment when they buy. They want to know how people are using the product, how they can envision themselves using the product. What value is this going to give me? Is it, pleasure? Is it a treat? Or is it functional? Like, I want to see it and understand it.
Yes.
And so I think that's going to only continue to grow. And at the core of it, the fuel driving it, or the platform driving it, will be social. And it could be social commerce, it could be video commerce, it could be live, it could be on demand, but it's just the ability.
And we see that from shoppable video, right? I mean, it takes them probably 10 milliseconds to figure out if this guy is for real or is just showing off, right? I mean, if you look at live shopping, it works when the brand owner probably or his major, sellers are standing in front of the camera they know how to answer all the questions, and they are legit, right? So the people trust them, and then the event is successful. If they're bringing some influencer and they're paying, whatever amount for an event, and that influencer doesn't know, to answer any questions, and it really doesn't work. Same for the short form videos. Like, we think 30 seconds are not a lot, but
Right.
it's a lot. The feeling that you get is like in the first 3 seconds probably, and you already made a decision if you are interested or not. So it's all about, this is why TikTok, by the way, is, no one cares about polished production values on TikTok, right? It's mainly authenticity.
Yeah.
And the other way around, right? Long form like YouTube, it needs to be polished. It needs to be well edited, and otherwise it doesn't make sense at all. So these are really different type of behaviors that I fully agree. I mean, if there is an influencer that is trustworthy and is working and is committed to the product, then it will be able to make a lot of waves into the market, and people will follow that purchase. So yeah,
Absolutely.
Thank you for mentioning that.
Sure. No, and I think it's only going to continue to grow, and brands that just go, oh, we'll do a little influencer marketing on the side are going to miss it's not even the future, Eitan, of marketing. I think it is the now of marketing.
The now of marketing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Wow. Jackie, it's so interesting. Really. So tell me, what are the things that you are proud of in your career?
I'm proud of building great teams who I now see in wonderful roles as they continue to grow. And I just look at them. I think the thing I'm most proud of is the people I've worked with and their successes, to be honest with you. Nice. And it's usually people who are forward thinking and who are looking at that what's next that I mentioned at the very beginning. Because, it's easy to get stuck. So as I see them having all these wonderful successes in their careers, it just makes me proud as a peacock.
Nice. And what are your thoughts on the workforce? Like switching position every 18 months? Okay.
See, I came from it's interesting. I worked at two big companies. Time Warner was at the time called Time Warner, and NBC Universal. But I had many different roles. So I worked in domestic, international, television, print, digital, but it was always in two companies. So I understand the need to kind of adapt and move and see what's interesting and what's new. And I never kind of pigeon-toed myself, whereas in the past, people would be media-centric. I was consumer-centric. However, I do think there is something to be said about stability, because I did have the stability of being in the big company and knowing a lot of the people, developing mentors, and really learning from that. And if you are moving, it's hard to develop really strong mentor relationships in 12 months to 18 months and then move to the next one. Yes. So I understand the need for versatility, and also when you're just satisfied, you want to I always say, to be successful in your career, you shouldn't like what you do. You should love what you do, and you should have a lot of purpose in it. And that purpose should make you feel, really like self-accomplished when you're there. So if you're not, move. Yes. But I think the moving for just moving is going to be missing out on some opportunities for people as far as
yes. We always think about stability as something which is valuable and important, but still people are switching like every 18 months, 20 months. Latest Forbes report published last week, I read it, says that those who replace jobs every 2 years will earn double than those who just stay and maintain that stability value, right?
Yeah,
it's double the income over the course of the entire working career.
And it's true. Amazing. Every time you do make a move, you do make more money.
Yes.
And I also think that, with the experience that we all went through with COVID, people are like, I'm just going to get the job done and I don't need the politics. I'm going to zoom in, zoom out, and so there's that. It's about the work and not so much about the gold watch at the end of the, that antiquated thing. But you got when you retired, that's gone.
Yes.
So I think your answer is exactly where I am. It's something about balance, maybe in the middle. If it's every year, you might lose something. If you stay too long at the party, I think it's not going to be good for you anyway.
Yes. Another thing that they say is that it doesn't matter, you can live, but you need to work very, very hard to reach that double income status, right?
Well, we live in a performance world, right?
Exactly.
It's all about performance and results.
Yes, yes. Okay, Jackie, we are in the fun fact part of the episode.
Okay.
We want to learn more about you, the person. Jackie, yes, it's not bot. We are not AI. We are people in person. We have emotions, we have relationships, and we'd love to hear more about your fun facts.
All right, my fun fact, Eitan, is when I was a teenager, I was on a swim team. I was really good at backstroke and breaststroke. And then, I grew up, went to college, and that was the end of that. What were we going to say?
No, I said, wow, really interesting. Okay.
But this is as a teenager.
Yeah.
So I now live upstate in the Catskills, and right next to our house is this beautiful park called Minnewaska State Park, and they have this huge, gorgeous lake. And there's a certain area of it that's roped off. It's about 400 yards. So it's like 20 Olympic swimming pool laps. Mm-hmm. But in order to swim there, you have to be a Minnewaska Lake swimmer. You have to be certified. So last summer, without any training, I don't know what I was thinking, I decided to go get tested.
Really?
And it was in a pool, and I went, and halfway through, I thought I was going to drown. Honestly, I was like, what am I doing? But I had told everyone I knew, especially my husband, that I was going to go do the test. I had to pass. So I did pass.
So there was an official announcement before this as well.
It was official. I passed. The thing is, when I ended up going to the lake during the summer, I was scared to swim the whole thing because it's not like a pool. You can't count.
Yes.
So my fun fact is I just started March, April, and May. I'm going to be training properly so that in June I can swim the whole 400 yards in the lake by the rope. So that's my fun fact of some stupidity that I did, but my determination to make it right.
Crazy. And probably the body remembers the muscles. Something is there, right? From
the body remembers the muscles, not a lot.
Wow. So please share. I'd love to get more updates about the progress. So really important. Okay, so don't forget.
Absolutely.
Great,
and
Jackie,
thank you for telling me about Qigong. I'm loving it. That's
Qigong
that's
is
another
amazing.
It's definitely up there on my list now.
Yes, so maybe a topic for the next episode.
Absolutely.
Jackie, anything else you want to add?
No, I just so much enjoy talking to you, listening to you. You have great guests, and thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thank you. It was really a pleasure. Very, very interesting. Thank you so much.
Keep your eye on Gen Zs.
Yes, of course. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on this episode. Your support means the world to us. If today's episode has been insightful for you, consider sharing it with someone who would also benefit. Even one share can make a big difference. Looking to elevate your e-commerce game? Discover Vimy, a multi-channel e-commerce platform that will transform your business with the power of shoppable video. Visit us at vimy.net to learn more. It's Vimy, VIMMI.net. Thank you for being part of our journey. Stay tuned for more invaluable insights in our next episode.